A very good evening to everyone. Hope you're enjoying the ongoing NPC extravaganza, and thank you all for joining us today. Before we begin, I'm happy to inform our audience that we recently completed another successful edition of the NASSCOM India FinTech Awards. This was the third of its kind, aiming to recognize the early stage startups in prominent FinTech themes such as retail banking, wealth management, regulatory compliance, lending, payments, and insurance. So after multiple rounds of evaluations by our industry experts, we've identified 6 winners across the categories, and we'll be announcing the winners at the end of this session. Before that, we have a panel discussion on the future of innovation in BFSI, where I'll be in conversation with two eminent leaders, Balaji Narasimhan, Delivery Head at TransUnion, and Prajakth Samant, CIO at Nomura India. I'd now request them to join us on stage, please.
Hi, good evening, Inchara.
Hi, Prajakth. Hi, Balaji. Good evening. Thank you
Hi.
so much for joining us. A very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Prajakth.
Hi. Thanks for having us here.
Thank you so much for joining us. So now for a bit of context to get the conversation going, needless to say, the last 18 months have been quite disruptive for everyone, including the BFSI sector. And being a comparatively, say, mature vertical, we've witnessed quite a bit of acceleration in digital adoption and innovation. To take a few instances, for example, services like digital lending now widely use AI and ML for accurate and wide-ranging credit risk profiling. Another example we can take is probably the APIs that are one of the most important technologies used in digibanking. So overall, it does paint quite a rosy picture, seeming like the much needed mass adoption in digital banking is finally gathering momentum. This being said, my first question is to you, Prajakth. What do you think are the deep tech solutions required and expected in the post-pandemic era? Or what would you could say, what would further catalyze the fintech industry?
Sure. No, thanks, Inchara. I think, look, I mean, deep tech technology are going to play a big role in BFSI. I mean, my personal view is not much has changed from a post-pandemic perspective of the view about these technologies, but clearly there is a sense of urgency and need to expedite its solutions, right? I mean, it's in overall in line with the overall digitalization of the businesses, which is clearly evident now. Personally, I've been very close to capital markets and investment banking. I can say the two technologies which are going to play a big role is AI, machine learning, and blockchain. Machine learning is going to impact all areas of banking, right? From client solutions, probably to trading, risk management, right up to the back office operations. Specifically in capital markets, which I kind of work in, we have seen AI already prevalent, right? We have seen it in algo trading and areas like it. But the access to AI has been, for institutional firms or hedge funds or big firms. I think it's going to be more and more accessible to more retail and private customers. So that's going to be a big change in my view. Second thing I spoke about is blockchain. I think that is going to definitely disrupt and replace a whole host of intermediary services. Probably directly connect the end customer with the service provider. In my view, we are seeing, a success of the shared economy solutions like Uber and Airbnbs of the world, right? Now, I think it's not very impossible to think of bank also moving closer to that model where technologies like blockchain will probably play a key role in bringing the provider and the user together on a common platform rather than you needing an intermediary or a specific bank where you need to go to. So I think these two technologies, in my personal view, specifically to the capital markets area, I think are going to be a big role to play in future.
Thanks for that, Balaji. We would love to hear your views on the same, please.
Yeah. So as Prajakth said, I think we were already on a journey, and I second him that we are going to continue the acceleration. So a couple of things that comes to my mind. One is the acceleration to cloud. So if you look at the pandemic, pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, I think the most least impacted people were either who never changed the technology on mainframes or the people who adapted cloud quickly. So they had the ability to scale quickly and also bring in solutions much quicker because everything, as the name implies, it's on cloud. So either the ones who have stayed away from the technology and been on mainframes or people who have moved quicker to the cloud, they were able to adapt much better compared to other people. So definitely there is going to be an acceleration towards cloud transformation. So that is one area. The other area I would like to highlight, primarily being an information company, is on how identity management is going to be tackled. So that is one area that involves all the technologies like AI, ML. It's a fusion of optical character recognition. If you look at even India, the KYC was brought in. So electronic know your customer was brought in. So that means we are seeing many large banks going for advertisements in TV and commercials where they are advocating the need for say individual banking or even say private banking where you can open without visiting a branch. You can carry out banking at the tip of your fingertips. So this means we need very solid identity management principles that can clearly identify that it is you and you are doing a seamless banking. So with this, I'm sure you will see more. Of course, they use technologies like AI, requires large volume of processing, so which involves ML. So these are some of the trends that I could think of.
Thank you so much. I think that was quite helpful for all the innovators out here and the audience. So we spoke about the requirements and expectations, but the second part of it is the actual adoption. So now open innovation has a potential to largely impact the value creation as a whole. So it would be great to throw some light on how large organizations in the BFSI space are adopting and embracing open innovation. So any methods, best practices, learnings, anything you want to let us know.
Maybe I'll take a shot at it. So if you look at the biggest innovation, the recent history, I think at least with respect to India, that has revolutionized is the UPI, which is completely an open platform. If you look at it, it has, we are seeing billions of transactions being conducted month on month through UPI. So that's an embracement of open innovation technology. We can see that very much in the BFSI space also, where APIification will play a big part, similar to say leveraging a Google for say if you want to integrate maps or say if you want to integrate any long technology player, tech specific player. Similar to that in BFSI, you'll be able to see more APIification where people will be open to plug and play with multiple people, introduce more collaboration. So that is also something which we'll see as part of open innovation.
Great, thank you. Prajat, your views?
No, thanks, Anchor. I think I agree with Balaji. I mean, if I have to add a little more context, right? So I think most of the BFSI segment sometimes carry a huge baggage of legacy infra, right? I think Balaji spoke about mainframes, right? Legacy infra, application processes, which are probably sometimes hard to innovate from behind. Uh, so most banks or BFSI segment is partnering with startups, right? And I think that helps in creating that agility and expedite the digitalization journey. Now, I think Balaji spoke about cloud, which I completely agree with him, right? Uh, some of these open innovation, you need to be on a platform which will help you to be engaged with the ecosystem, whether it's the fintech, startups, or even client interfacing aspect of it, right? So I believe to kind of have an open innovation culture, you probably need the basic environment or infrastructure in place, which I think cloud does provide you. And I think BFSI segment will largely investing in probably right from client facing layer to AI, let's say decision making layer, to the core technology, to the data layer. I mean, each of these areas are being invested in, but I think it's important that for each of these areas, there is an element of looking at it from a wider ecosystem perspective. If we operate in a siloed mentality towards innovation, it's probably never going to help. So I think open innovation is the way forward, and I think a lot of banks and BFSI segment as overall is kind of moving towards that direction.
Thank you. Great to hear. I think with
yes, just to add to what Prajat said, I think one of the areas where even as a company we are doing, we have an innovation lab, so where anyone can come in and then try out some of the products. It has been going on for close to 5 years now, so that's a very good platform for people to collaborate and then bring out products which make value to the customer also. So collaboration is going to be the way forward, and open innovation will be driven wide scale compared to what it is now.
Like I was saying, I think that's great to hear identifying these focus areas and platforms that all of you have created, with open innovation being so imperative in today's day and age. To hear first-hand experience from leaders such as yourself who've driven the impact. It's great to hear your views on that. Coming to our next question. So what do you think are the upcoming trends or white spaces that startup founders need to keep an eye out for?
Okay, so one of the areas, maybe I'll start again. So the buy now, pay later, that is going to be definitely big, specific to BFSI. I think buy now, pay later is going to, it has already caught on. So that is one area where definitely we can see a lot of innovation that's going to happen. So definitely we'll see more startups and many people focusing on that. Apart from that, one other area where I feel there is a void is super apps in India. We do have a few super apps, like we do have HDFC Pays app. We do have many of the super apps, but I think it's not as large scale as in say what we have in China or say other countries. So definitely that is one area to look out for, where an integration of social, banking, everything together put in a single app or a super app. That is definitely there is a lot of scope in the Indian industry specifically. Currently, we see a lot of big banks or say big players like HDFC, ICICI doing this, but definitely once we have it in startup system starting to do this, then we can see more innovation. The other area which I was thinking through was we still have scope for old fusion of old economy and new economy. So if you look at specifically credit card, I would like to take one example like of a great product that I personally used. If you look at a Samsung Pay, earlier it integrated MTS system, like where you can take cardless payment, keep everything in your Samsung Pay wallet, go to any terminal, be it a contactless NFC terminal or the traditional swiping POS terminal, and use your phone for to swipe any of your credit card. So if you look at it, 2021, Samsung has discontinued that technology due to maybe hardware costs or many reasons are coming out. But again, it's a scope. We have a wide market where we have people still using credit cards largely, and we have the new market where people have gone to UPI payments or they have gone to contactless payments. So a fusion technology is still there, like where you give the best of the new world at the same time cater to the old world. These are some areas where still these are white spaces even now. Like if you bring in a technology where we can satisfy both the old world and new world, definitely it will have a big impact and impact a wider, bring more value to a wider group of consumers. So these are some areas I could think of.
I think we probably lost each other. If I may continue with Balaji, what Balaji was saying, right? While we're waiting for Inshara, probably. From my perspective, I think Balaji covered all the domains. One area I think which is going to be a big white space in my view is digital assets. I think digital assets are here to stay, and they are going to keep growing. Providing services right from trading to custody services to end-to-end servicing of digital assets, I think is a big area which will keep growing, and I think that's one white space I do see. Probably talking about technology trends, right? Are we from a domain trend to a technology trend? I think in my view, we have seen automation being the focus for last probably few years, where people have done RPA and OCRs, and I think that's the low-hanging fruit which is completed. I think the evolution will be to the next level where we look at intelligent process automations or NLP or unstructured data processing. I think that's one area which is still, in my view, a trending area and a white space. Similarly, probably in my view, cyber security is another big area. Again, it's not specific to BFSI segment, but I think whether you take areas of security operations or data leakage or threat hunting, I think these areas, the whole area is evolving each day, and the threats are evolving each day. So I think that's another one area where I see a lot of potential and a lot of white space where startups could do a lot more. So yeah.
Yeah. And adding on project, I think Inshara is not there, but we can continue. One of the areas that came to my mind is data privacy. So if you look at, say, post-pandemic era, as the nations close their borders to different travelers, I think they are also closing the borders to data, where they want data to be localized a lot. So this will definitely drive in more, where even the Indian government has been trying the data protection bill for a long time. So once these kind of things come into play, that opens more opportunities where data localization and data private, keeping data private is going to be something pretty big in the future.
Sure.
Okay, I think we lost Inchara, I guess.
hopefully she is able to join us soon.
Yeah, Inchira dropped out. I think she has poor connection. While she joins us back, I'll just request you both to tell us a little about that as innovation leaders. How do you build a culture of innovation internally in your organization? So if you could throw some light on it.
Shall I go first? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, again, as I said, earlier, right? I think some of the banks usually we have a legacy, which can be constraining for our innovation, right? So I think it's important to recognize and encourage incremental innovation instead of waiting for that one big idea which will change the business process. I mean, if you build a culture around recognizing and encouraging this incremental innovation, then it creates a conducive environment, in my view, which kind of leads to a big innovation at some point of time. I mean, there are other aspects. I think Balaji also spoke about innovation labs. Most of the banks, BFSI segment, kind of has these kind of innovation labs which help the cause. There are open innovation through engagements with broader ecosystems like startups, on incubators, and so on and so forth. I mean, all these are catalysts in my view. They kind of help building that innovation culture. But I think sometimes those small steps towards innovation kind of builds that culture towards building a larger idea or a bigger idea.
Yeah, I think a great point, Project. And one more thing I would like to highlight, just like incremental innovation that Project talked on, we'll also need to have an integrated innovation strategy. If every department has the culture of innovation, the output is much bigger. Again, taking a simple phone as example, if you look at an iPhone, which is the benchmark for many of the phones, if you look at say a camera, or say if you look at a M1 chip that came out recently, or the entire parts of the iPhone, each area innovates that different groups that Apple will be working. Finally, they give us the integrated product iPhone, which is a symbol of the accumulation of the it's an integrated innovation that you get as a final product. I feel like if we have an integrated approach to innovation, where all the departments, say be it finance, HR, technology, or different departments that are there in an organization, if they all get into the culture of innovation, there is an integrated innovation that produces a bigger result, and definitely we'll see a very good finished product similar to what we experienced with an iPhone. So integrated innovation is also the key. This culture has to be driven across all the departments of the organization.
Right. Thank you, Balaji. Just one more follow-up question. So how has the approach of CXOs changed with respect to working with startups? So we'll start with you and then we'll come to project.
Okay. So I think there is a significant change, specifically post the pandemic. Take India as an example. We have 41 unicorns created just in this year, 2021. So this has been the boom year where we have 41 unicorns coming. Maybe the number will change as we speak. So there are so many unicorns that are sprouted in India just this year. So it's very imperative for any CXO to take a look on each of these unicorns or startups, even leaving out unicorns, any startup, because they bring in so much innovation. We still see large banks in the paper that say, be it SBI or many of the large banks working with startup ecosystem, be it for say payment gateway, be it integrating with payment gateway. So this is going to be the trend where partnership with each of these startups is going to help us deliver quicker and take products faster to market. So definitely it's going to be the trend. We see even say, just to give one example of practically how this is done at workplace, like say a startup which is really good in user experience or design. So if you look at traditional companies that focus on core or their core assets like data, they are willing to even spin off or say let the startup do the development for user interface or say the UI UX part. Then we integrate and give a product quicker to the market. So definitely it's going to be a bigger collaborative world, and we'll see more collaboration happening with startup. So entire perspective is drilled down from the top, from the CXO level. That's going to be the trend, and it will continue also.
I do completely agree that we have already started seeing collaboration with startups by various established organizations. So it would be interesting to watch what startups can bring in the table, and they're already innovating and bringing new products on table, new use cases, etc. So same question to you, Project. What are your thoughts on this?
I think I completely agree with Balaji. I think he covered most of the points. I mean, if you look probably a few years back, right, I think the CXOs had probably two extreme views. They were either a view that startups are going to cannibalize my business, so there was like a looked upon as a threat, or there was another element of, they probably don't understand domain or don't have the know-how and so on and so forth. That has definitely changed. I think it's imperative that all the CXOs look at how do we collaborate with the startup industry. And this is, and I think Balaji also referred to this, it's imperative, right? You probably cannot specialize on every aspect of it. You have to collaborate with where you get the best of the world. User experience was one example. There could be startups providing payment solutions. There could be startups providing distributed ledger technology solutions. I think to be agile, nimble, and to provide a solution which will be fast in the market, innovative in the market, it's probably imperative for the CXS to work with startups. And I think that realization is there. And I think you have already seen that journey happening.
True. That does make sense, So so I see that we are about to close. So any parting thoughts? We'll start with you, Project, and then we'll move to Balaji.
No, I think, and we covered all the points. I think from my perspective, this is the way forward. Open innovation, collaboration with for BFSI segment with the startup industry or the fintech is a way forward. The industry, in my view, will go through a lot of change in next few years. The change of technology has been exponential in last few years, and I think BFSI is probably one of the biggest consumers of technology, and we'll see this adoption of technology much more faster. And I think that's the way forward.
Thank you, Project. Over to you, Balaji.
Yeah, any challenge presents an opportunity. If you look at the current challenge that we have, the pandemic is going to definitely throw up more opportunities for innovation. So we will definitely see a lot of innovation and new products and a shift in technology happening in the BFSI, which is the first mover in most of the cases.
I think I've said this before, and I'm just going to repeat it before we end the session, that it's just an interesting space to be working in at this point of time. So much innovation happening, not in terms of products only, but in terms of regulations, policy making, etc. And with this thought, I would like to thank you both for joining us today and giving us such fruitful insights on the future of innovation in BFSI. Thank you.